All right, we've got Mike Petersen here. If you have a question for him, raise your hand. I'll call you. Spencer, let's go. Start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Hey, Spencer.
I guess I just wanted to start off with a simple question asking about, what the past couple of days of practice have looked like and how you overall prepared for Seattle.
Yeah, practice was good, right? We came back and we talked about getting back to who we are, really. I mean, that second game at Minnesota, we got away from what we do best, right? We didn't really play together defensively very well. And so we spent all day on the days run together, all day on Tuesday, mostly playing defense, making sure we had good congestion, making sure we had good help, making sure our principles were good, because we got away from them a little bit in the Minnesota game. But no, practice was good. Shoot around was good today. So it seems like we got good energy. Now you got to go play.
Spencer, go ahead.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask about assistant coach Darius Taylor. You had talked about, sharing a complementary role this season. I just wanted to ask about, what has he done this season to kind of make your life easier and help improve the defense? And if he were up here, what would he say about the defensive game plan for Seattle?
Well, he's done a ton. First of all, like I said, it's just he and I are in a very cooperative situation. Every defensive drill we do in practice, Darius runs. Every game plan, he and I put our heads together and we bounce ideas off each other all the time. So, he's done a fabulous job in helping construct the defense, and he runs it during practice and makes a lot of the decisions during games. So he's just done a great job. If he was here, what he would say about the game plan against Seattle, I think he would probably say make somebody besides Stewart or Lloyd try to beat us. And he would say make sure we keep them away from the front of the rim. Seattle's so good. Their offense is so pretty. They move the ball and they get to second actions and they play in transition so well. And they make a lot of threes, but what makes them really unguardable is the fact that they get to the front of the rim so much on runouts, and slips, and back cuts, and curl cuts. And so you got to keep them off the front of the rim if you're going to have a chance to beat them.
Stu Faber, go ahead.
Hi there. Hey, Coach. Just wondering hi there. I'm just wondering, can you explain a little bit about how you guys came to find Crystal Bradford, and then maybe can you elaborate a little bit on what she's brought to this team?
Yeah, so Crystal was a training camp invitee, and Nikki invited her, right? Frankly, Crystal would tell you this, when training camp started, everybody kind of projects rosters, right, for every team. And absolutely no one projected that Crystal would make our roster. And what happened was, as training camp went along, I'm really big on who wins. And so I track every drill, which group wins. And all of a sudden, 5 or 6 days into training camp, it didn't matter what team you put Crystal on. It didn't matter what drill you were doing. Somehow her team found a way to win. And as Darius and I then went about talking about the final cuts, we just said, hey, you know what? She's earned a spot on this roster, and she's got great energy all the time. She's a very light. She makes people laugh, frankly. She kind of lightens the mood often. But the biggest thing she does is she just plays hard. She's just supremely confident. So she's been a really pleasant addition. And, like I said, at the start of training camp, there's not one person in America that thought she'd make our final roster. And now she's established herself as she's got a role on this team.
Spencer, back to you.
Sure. I guess I'll double down on that Crystal Bradford question. if you could pick one moment from the season that's been your favorite from her, either on the court or just the energy she's brought to the team, anything like that. If you could pick one moment that stands out, what would you pick?
Yeah, that's a good question, because literally every day has a Crystal Bradford moment. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, she was really good today, and then she goes 2 weeks and doesn't do, or 2 days, or 2 minutes, really. And doesn't do something. I'm going to miss which game it was, okay? But she went in the game, and she'd been in the game like 10 seconds. And we get on the break, and she was on the right wing. It was a road game, and we won the road game. So I'm not much help to you there. But she comes down, and we kick it ahead to her, and she just stops and takes a 3 when everybody in the world thought she was going to the rim, and drilled it, and just like it was an everyday occurrence, and it's just, it reflected her fearlessness. It reflected her confidence, right? And the bench just went crazy when she did it. So I guess that would be probably the one that sticks out in my mind in terms of something that happened in a game.
That's if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
Yeah, just the last question from me. In terms of offense, and specifically, I think Tiffany Hayes, she's played really well over the past couple of games, as is expected. But I think an area where she's particularly stood out is in isolation.
Yep.
Do you have any inclination as to whether you're going to get her more involved in isolation actions? Or are you kind of comfortable using her how you've used her in the past?
Well, okay, it's a good question. Anytime someone switch and puts a big onto Tiff, it becomes an isolation action, right? So if she comes off a ball screen and they switch, we're in isolation. If she comes off a pin down and they switch, we're in isolation. And so now we also do things to clear sides and get her involved on open sides. So quite a bit of what we do with Tiff is in isolation. But what we have to be careful of is, one of the things that got us in Minnesota in the second game is the ball stuck. We didn't have enough movement, so they were able to load up to the ball side. And so while that's something that we're good at, right? Kennedy's good at it, Courtney's good at it, Tiff is good at it, Aries good at it, frankly, right? Odyssey's pretty good at it. Crystal's pretty good at it, frankly. You got to be careful that it doesn't become 5 one-on-one games, because when that happens, then you don't get any cutters, you don't get any movement off the backside, you don't, all that stuff goes away, and we don't want to have that.
And last questions in the chat. Can you give us the keys to beating Seattle tonight? Maybe 2 to 3 keys.
Sure, of course. The first one is we've got a really good transition defense. I mean, they're the most efficient team in our league in transition. And so we've got to make them play 5-on-5. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we've got to keep Stewie off the front of the rim. Like, she's so good slipping screens, back cutting, curl cutting, and getting to the front of the rim, getting runouts in transition. And when they're able, when she's able to get 4 or 5 baskets at the front of the rim, they're just almost unstoppable. It's just 10 free points that she creates for them. And then the third one would be, we got to value the ball, right? We can't have another game where our opponent has 20 or 25 points off turnovers. It's got to be down in that 12, 13, 14 points kind of a number. It's never going to be 0. It's just not the nature of our game, but it can't be 25.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.